Hey everyone, welcome back to the Castaway Consultants Podcast, where we teach future Survivor players how to play the game while criticizing current and former players. And I am your host, Josh Wessler, and I'm joined today by my two wonderful co-hosts, Derek Kupacek and Ryan Stacy.
Yo.
How's it going?
Well,
we don't want to get into spoilers yet, but
we ask us again once we get into spoilers.
Ryan
Josh.
and I, we had a moment.
Yeah, we had a moment tonight.
Well, I am doing great this episode.
Oh, are you?
I enjoyed it thoroughly. I thought it was a wonderful episode. Got a lot of actual interpersonal camp life. Little bit of advantage stuff progressing. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I don't know why you guys wouldn't at all.
If I'm just looking at the episode proper and not at anything going on with, winner picks or advantage getting and everything like that, I thought it was a pretty good episode. We got to visit all three tribes, which hasn't been the case every episode this season. We have some closure on a few open items that were progressing slowly in the pre-merge, so that's kind of fun. We know that we are getting another, half merge next week.
Another weird BS thing.
So either Danny McRae is going to turn over in his grave, or he's going to sing praise to the heavens that he made a difference.
No, he's going to be like, man, why couldn't they have done this right on my season?
But overall, I did enjoy the episode.
Yeah, it was a solid episode. We'll get into more of it once we get into spoilers.
Yep.
Talking about the preview for next week, I am glad to see that they just completely threw away what they did last season and are making it a 2-hour episode.
Yeah, because everyone hated that.
What would be the point of doing what they did last season?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they're learning.
They can learn once in a while. Well, the whole point of this podcast is we are trying to teach future Survivor players how to play the game. So we're going to do that tonight with episode 5 of Survivor 42. I'm Survivor Rich. Y'all going to learn tonight.
And we there are things to discuss.
Yes, we got some things to discuss, especially with that tribal council. That vote is very interesting. So spoiler alert for episode 5. Go watch it. Come back and give us a listen. All right, 3, 2, 1. Bleep. Guess you lost their winner pick tonight.
More like bleep yes.
Yeah, so Daniel and Chanel were the two on the table, and that is Derek and my winner picks. I have Daniel, Derek has Chanel, and once Vati lost the immunity challenge, I turned to Derek, I'm like, well.
And then we did a bro handshake and said, nice to know you. And just to give everyone a little bit of insight, this has happened in this friend group before. Josh and I were watching a little episode. I think it was back in season 32.
Yeah, that would be season 32, Wrong.
And one of us had Michelle, and one of us had Anna. We don't really like to talk about Anna anymore. But at the time, there was nothing. And
I don't know why I would have picked her. Huh,
and we said, all right, it's one of us going home. The next one's obviously going to go on and win the game. And we said that totally in jest. And then
that's exactly what happened.
That is literally exactly what happened.
And no spoilers here, so you'll have to watch to figure out who it was.
Yeah, who had Anna, who had Michelle. Well, when we get to the Survivor Rewind for Wrong, we will reveal that of who was the ultimate winner of Wrong. But it was one of Derek and Josh.
It was indeed.
So we'll talk about that. But yeah, nope, I'm out. I'm done. So at the end of the episode, I will give out my new winner pick based on everyone who is left. But pouring out for Daniel and his broken arm.
And Derek is not feeling so good about his position in anything.
Derek's a person made some questionable decisions here at the end. So yep. I'm interested to see what your guys' opinion is on that because I'm confused.
Yes. We're going to go to Twitter for some answers on that one.
Now we're just teasing the listeners.
You guys ready to jump into this episode?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, so the episode begins back on Ika, coming back to Tribal Council. Roxroy is confirmed to have been left out of the vote. And you know what? He handles it like a champion. I've been very hard on Roxroy this whole season. And I got to say, he had a good episode.
Yeah, I mean, and you're hard on him for good reason. It's well-earned, well-deserved at this point. Roxroy has proven himself to be an unreliable Survivor player. And perhaps the worst kind of Survivor player in terms of, being a good human still. He lacks self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
but he does not lack self-awareness right after tribal council. He says, my social game really isn't that good, is it? Which, I mean, normally you don't ever want to talk about how bad of a game you're playing, but I think if you do have a poor social game, it's good to call that out and say, I need to do better. I need to do more. So at least he's saying the right words. And he said, you know what? Thanks for leaving me out of that vote because I might have accidentally messed it up. And if she's two-timing everybody, thank you for getting rid of that. That was excellent word play from Roxroy. And I enjoyed it. And I want to give him credit for that.
He takes being left out of the vote as a wake-up call, which is exactly what it should be. So I'm not going to go so far to say as Roxroy is going to win the game now, but he's got a shot.
Is he out of the cellar and your guys's, and actually kind of like our unanimous least likely person to win?
We will see.
Yeah, we'll see at the end of the episode.
We'll have to tease the listener again and go all the way to the end. But this does confirm.
Around.
This does confirm our thought from last week that Roxroy had been left out. So even though Ryan mentioned that earlier, I want to specifically say that we were questioning that.
Yep.
This confirmed that he was in fact left out.
Tori does not want to work with Roxroy, but she pretends that she's like, oh yeah, we're a solid four, we're going all the way to the end, and Tori's like, I'm going to jump ship the first chance I get. But which that's a whole other discussion whether or not you should do that, but the fact that she's playing nice is good. You like that?
Yep. The words are right.
Marianne and Lindsay talk a lot about Mario Kart, which I was very happy to hear. That was fun. And Lindsay's like, I was playing Mario Kart since before you were born. I loved that so much.
And actually, it kind of made me sad because it made me realize how old we are. Because I could have played Mario Kart since before people were born.
Yeah, I guess Marianne's 24, so probably not for me.
Yeah, so I have not been playing Mario Kart since before Marianne was born.
I've been playing Mario Kart since before Swathy was born.
Yeah, it's somewhere right in there.
Yikes.
Yeah, it was kind of this almost montage sequence that I started to get a little bit worried, and it's almost piggybacking off of last episode a little bit, but getting a little bit worried about maybe Jonathan here.
Me too.
We're getting close to the merge. We've been saying it, a perfect merge boot. Also very likely to maybe be cut right before the merge if they would have to go to tribal. So it is kind of when you'd start getting the inkling of being afraid if I was Jonathan.
If Taku had lost tonight, I think Jonathan would have gone. That would have been my prediction.
And I don't agree with that assessment. I do think that, well, it may have been Jonathan, but not as a straight up vote. Yeah. It would have been because Marianne sensed the danger and played her idol.
We'll get into that.
Right.
Let's get that to the immunity challenge with that one, because I think that's a good spot to talk about it. But basically, this conversation is loud and annoying Jonathan. So he goes fishing to avoid him for a while. Okay, fair enough. If you just need a break for someone, just go in the water for a little bit and chillax. But he's going to come back and he's chopping wood. And he hits a piece of wood that Marianne's foot was underneath, so it hits her in the foot. And it turns into just a big dumb argument about nothing. Bad on both of them. Especially, I think Jonathan is definitely worse off than Marianne in this argument, but bad on both of them.
He's not worse off because he hit like the piece of wood and her foot was under it. It was how he reacted. Like, he didn't know that her foot was there, but it was more his reaction to her reaction. And I would also say that it's probably more on him there, that he should have reacted a little bit better. But it's not like he was trying to cause her any harm.
Sure, but you still apologize there.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? Boom.
Yeah, he lashed out at her, and that was unnecessary.
And I will say, I want to take the opposite side on this. Marianne needs to be a little bit more responsible for where her feet are if she sees somebody chopping firewood. And we shouldn't give her a pass for having a strong reaction to a little thing.
Oh, I'm not giving her a pass.
So, like, we can grade Jonathan's reaction, but, like, I want to grade Marianne's action first and foremost, and I think she also handled this very poorly. And I was going to say, do you guys remember Karishma?
Yes.
A couple seasons ago?
Who can forget?
How can you forget?
When she got, like, a pretty bad, like, cut on her finger or something like that, and then she went off and sulked alone for a while and then complained that nobody came to, like, console her. This is literally the exact opposite of that, where like basically nothing happened and we got dialed up to 11 for no reason. Both of these are wrong. Like, you can go like, hey, sorry, I got my foot got in your way. Take the blame for these little things. It builds social capital.
Both of them should have apologized.
Both of them should have been adults and apologized.
Even if you don't think you're wrong.
Yeah.
The best move is to apologize. But that is Survivor in general. We're dialing nothing up to 11 and causing fights. That's Survivor. Nothing happened. We're going to dial it up to 11.
That's what happens with hunger.
It's reality TV, man. You got to love it. Over on Vati, Chanel and Daniel, they agreed to work together again after the merge, but that's not going to go anywhere. What's really happening is they're talking to Hai, Lydia, and Mike and trying to avoid being the next one to go because it is those two. And Hai and Lydia are talking. Hai thinks Chanel is the more dangerous one than Daniel, which I am inclined to agree with at this point. I think Chanel is not only better but more dangerous. Huh?
I'd agree, and you phrased it perfectly. They're jockeying for position at this point, and which horse are you betting on? After finding out that Hai is kind of the driver of action on this tribe, I really thought Chanel was going at this point.
Yeah, I thought Chanel was going to go tonight too until the revote.
And see, that's where it's a little interesting to me because we set our rank downs every single week about who we think is the least likely to most likely to go home. And I feel like my rank downs were really the only ones that reflected Chanel being more likely to go than Daniel. So it's interesting for me to hear that from you guys because I 100% think that, but I feel like you guys had not thought that in the past.
Going into this episode, I thought Daniel was more likely to go home because he was going to do something crazy. I do think Chanel is more dangerous. And especially now, like in the episode, we basically get confirmation from Hai. But going into this episode, setting my rank downs, I was just like, I think Daniel's going to do something dumb and get himself sent home.
Yeah, and okay. Josh, if you remember last week, I said that I would be standing pat with saying Chanel is the most likely to go home from.
Yeah, we agreed on that at least.
From Vati, and then somewhere in between there, and when I actually finished my rank downs, I just moving Daniel felt right. That wasn't any sort of strategic decision. It felt right after we got done recording, and that's one thing. Recording right after the episode airs. We've had time to digest, but maybe not time to fully digest. And I just felt like Daniel was more likely after I actually sat down. So yeah, you're right. I was a little bit inconsistent from what I recorded last week to what I actually put pen to paper, but that's just a result of the format.
Yeah, it's good to know where you guys kind of switched up your opinion there during the episode.
Daniel, who has basically not done anything in any of the challenges since the beginning and has said he can't do swimming right now because of his arm, goes spearfishing. And he seems to be doing just fine. So everybody's just like, wait, so he's good enough to go swimming, but he can't compete in the challenges? Like, pick a side, dude. You can't have it both ways. Oh, Daniel. And it was at this point where I'm like, well, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, and I see both sides of the issue because you have to remember when people are rehabbing dislocated joints, they'll often do stuff in the pool. They'll often do stuff in water because you can do more, quote unquote, because you don't have as much weight or as much stress. That being said, Daniel needs to be aware of the optics. And if that's something that he's not aware of, that's on him. We move into the challenge and we're going to get some eye rolls about him sitting out. But you have to remember the first part of that challenge was getting hoisted up over a cargo net, partially putting strain on your shoulder. So
and a slingshot.
And a slingshot. So, there's a lot of reasons for him to sit out this particular challenge, particularly that first portion. But I mean, again, you're drawing heat for fair reasons, even though I see your side.
I see the reason why he's sitting out of challenges. I think that it's completely valid and that he probably should be sitting out of those, but maybe just kind of have that social awareness to not go in the water, not go spearfishing. Like if you want to relax and just kind of float around, just lazily do it near the beach and not doing it in a way that's trying to, provide for your tribe. It's just a different look, it seems like.
I'm understanding more and more why Tyson hammed up his injury.
I was just about to bring that up. Tyson, back in Blood versus Water, got a slight injury in like the second episode and just hammed it up for the rest of the season. It gained him sympathy points. That helps that he has Tyson's personality. And then he was seen as less of a threat from the post-merge. So if you have an injured arm, play it up to the point, quite a bit, but like you don't want to be a detriment to your tribe. It's a fine line to walk. Do what Tyson did, not what Daniel did.
You could also see this from the other point of view where this might encourage the rest of the tribe to keep him around because he's probably not going to be much of a threat in individual challenges. The merge is coming up here, so he's not going to be a giant threat here for like any like really long stamina ones or physical ones.
So Romeo and Drea go on an idol hunt, and Drea ends up finding the beware advantage. She takes it, which really threw me for a loop, because that was not who I was expecting to take it based on the promo. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen here. But anyway, the point is Drea has the beware advantage and loses her vote in the process. At the immunity challenge, Marianne, Drea, and Mike all say their phrases. They all get their votes back, and other idols are powered up. And the big question was, Mike, are you going to do this? Are you going to power it up? And he was like, I don't know, keep the target off my back. But, I think he was smart to say the phrase because he has his vote back. They ended up losing, going to Tribal Council. He's got an idol. He's set. And if there is heat around the idol, you can always just play and get the heat off you. So I think Mike was smart to say the phrase, but he was also smart to wait until the other two people said it just to keep the target off his back. So overall, I really like how Mike handled this situation.
I agree. I think it's the reverse Chanel, because, if they lose, they're going in. And even though Daniel and Chanel are at odds, they could still come together and force a tie because, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And then you might have people going to Rox once again. Not Roxroy, Rox. So by saying the phrase, he gets his vote back and they can create a definitive majority to take out who they want and basically avoid any sort of potential shenanigans from a Daniel and a Chanel from the new majority's point of view.
Ike is going to win immunity by a lot. And then it seems like Taku is just done because Omar is screwing up this rope unraveling stage, but he eventually manages to do it, and Jonathan just like destroys the slingshot portion and in an epic comeback, and Taku wins, sending Vati to Tribal Council. Man, I really like this even split. Each tribe loses two people. I love this. This is great. I love it when it's
and
really
you don't really
even.
See that much with a three-tribe season. Well, you usually get a swap in the pre-merge, so that's unique in itself, but I really like to see it even going into the merge like this.
This has been the most even three-tribe pre-merge ever, like statistically.
Yeah, because now we're going to be going in, 4-4-4.
I love it.
And there's a little bit of an asterisk because we had a medivac, or
yes.
not a medivac, but someone pulled from the game.
Ika gets to send someone from Bati on a trek to Mystery Adventure Island, and they're going to pick Lydia. Good pick. I like the pick.
Sure.
Seemingly the weakest person. Go ahead and send him. And plus one more person, Roxroy volunteers. I like the move. He was left on the outs. Might as well go and try and get maybe get something in the game and just like put yourself in the position to better your spot. So if you're on the bottom, I like it when
absent of clarifying information, we don't like volunteering for this kind of thing. But Roxroy knows that he's on the bottom, or at least has enough evidence to surmise he's on the bottom to warrant, you know what, I'm going to go do a thing.
So I like that Roxroy goes.
Well, and we're late enough in the pre-merge to where I don't think it really matters what your positioning is in the tribe, and I think we actually mentioned that in the last episode. Maybe I didn't catch it, but do you know how they decided who they sent?
From
their own tribe.
They could pick someone from their own tribe or Taku, and I guess Roxroy just must have volunteered.
Okay, I was going to say, because is there a scenario where maybe you don't let Roxroy go? Like, is there a vote that happens where it's like, maybe we don't let Roxroy because he's on the outs and we don't want him to have an advantage? Or is that way too obvious and aggressive?
Well, the thing is, I don't know if he is necessarily on the outs. Tori might be the fourth person. Roxroy might think he's the fourth person, but I'm not 100% sure that's true.
And let's say that Roxroy is on the outs and they get an extra vote and, they don't merge next episode and they need to vote him out. He has 2 votes against their 3. So you're keeping the potential advantage in-house if you do make it to the merge without needing to cut more ties, or you're giving the advantage to someone who can't do any damage with it against your tribe should push come to shove. So I do think it is a win-win to keep it on Ika and for Roxroy to go, especially given his loyal demeanor.
Mm-hmm.
So in Vati, Daniel and Chanel, they have one-on-one meetings with everyone.
Good on them.
I would rather take out Chanel. Mike would rather take out Daniel, but in reality, neither of them particularly care all that much. They're just like, just one of them's got to go, which is good. I like that.
And good on both of them for not really wavering when they're talking to these people, because that's how you get into a scenario where the 2 people on the outs team up and try to get one of the others out in just some sort of Hail Mary. So good on both of them to just have their decision and go for it.
And maybe better Survivor players would have done that. But I don't have a ton of faith in Chanel nor Daniel.
Mystery Adventure Island time. Lydia and Roxroy, they are both extremely cagey. Lydia kind of implies that she thinks she's next, which I really liked. And then Roxroy doesn't give much up either. So when they go to play the risk or protect your vote thing, they both end up choosing protect your vote. Lydia knows she can't risk it, not right now. And Roxroy's like, oh, Lydia's in danger. She's going to pick risk your vote, so I'm going to protect my vote. Based on the information they both have, I think they both played this correctly.
Yeah, I would agree. And I appreciate Roxroy's just completely like politician answer that he kept giving for Lydia. Just like, well, I don't know, like here and there, yada yada.
Oh, that's not what he said.
Completely generic.
We're doing this.
I'll be Lydia. So are you guys tight over there?
I mean, Lydia, what is tight?
What is the definition of tight?
Well, why is tight?
How is tight?
I saw a funny comment somewhere saying, wow, Roxroy really giving Socrates a run for his money. I wish I could give credit to who said that, but just know I saw that and I laughed.
I saw a good one that was, so Roxroy, are you guys tight? Well, Merriam-Webster defines tight as...
Excellent.
Also can't give credit to anyone on that, but I did see it on Twitter somewhere.
This was probably my favorite moment of the episode, I think, of the Mystery Adventure Island stuff, and that's saying something coming from me. That was hilarious. Roxroy being my favorite person to watch the night. Wow.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Why is Gamora?
So both of them protect their vote. No change there. We're going straight to tribal council, basically. And this is where things get really weird. So we're going to get 2 votes for Chanel, 2 votes for Daniel, 1 vote for Mike. And I was completely floored by this. Revote. And it's going to be all 3 votes on Daniel. And it's revealed that Chanel voted for Mike. We don't know why. We don't know how. We just know who.
Yes. We do know where as well.
We know where. So this is really interesting. Why would Chanel vote for Mike?
And I do have a theory on this. My thought is that Chanel was worried they were going 4-1 Daniel. And if that's the case, Daniel plays a shot in the dark and succeeds. They revote. Chanel goes home. So she's thinking, you know what? They don't need my number. I'm throwing a vote on Mike in case Daniel does do this and he is safe. I think this is actually a pretty intelligent move for Chanel because she knows that she's next anyway. I don't think that this hurts her position. It doesn't really change her game or any fast-forwarding strategy. And I honestly think that Daniel should have done it too. I mean, clearly Daniel went home. He should have played a shot in the dark. I mean, that's a gimme for anyone who goes home and didn't play their shot in the dark. So, I mean, if he wasn't going to do that, he should have maybe voted for Mike as well. Maybe it should have been 3 votes Daniel, 2 votes Mike when it all comes down to it.
So first of all, this tells us that it was well played by the rest of the tribe, not named Daniel or Chanel, because both of them thought that it was going to be the other person. Mm-hmm. I think Derek is spot on with that's why she did it. Hopefully we'll get confirmation next week on whether or not that's actually the case. But I would like to assume that Derek is correct with that. The risk that she takes with it is that now you have to deal with Mike. He's going to be worried. He's going to assume that it's you. I'm assuming that she's going to fess up to it and actually maybe give the reasoning for it. But if you had any hopes of being a group of 4 going into the merge, I feel like that's completely out the window now. Now, maybe she had no intention of doing that anyways. And if that's the case, then perfect. I think she did the exact thing that she should be doing. It's just, it's risky.
It's super risky, but I think the one thing she can do is blame that vote on Daniel. She could say Daniel voted for Mike. She could just throw Daniel right in the bus, and he's not there to defend himself anymore.
True.
So this is a weird move. It's interesting. I'm really looking forward to next week. I hope we get a confessional from Chanel where she talks about why she voted for Mike. Basically, my thought on whether this is going to end up being a good move or a bad move is going to come down to intent.
What comes next?
Yeah. So, this is a big old question mark for me. I think it was probably smart, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So I think we need more information on this vote.
In Winners at War, Nick Wilson did something similar to this, where the whole majority was voting for one person and he threw one vote on somebody else. This happens all the time. They're doing the exact same thing, except with the shot in the dark mechanic instead of fear for an idol. And that's why I land on this being a good move for Chanel, sort of regardless of context. Now she can play it horribly after a good move. That's always possible. But I do like the move in and of itself.
Because if Daniel had played the shot in the dark, what would that have been? 3 votes for Daniel, 1 for Chanel, 1 for Mike. On the revote, Chanel goes home.
Yeah, it wouldn't have mattered either way.
Yeah, I don't know if it would have mattered. But
she didn't know they were going to split it, to be fair.
Yeah. So let's say they didn't split it. It'd been 3 votes on Daniel. Or Daniel votes for Chanel. No, okay. So the original split was 2-2-1, and then Chanel would have gone home. So, but if they didn't split, it would be 3 again. It'd be a 3-1-1 if they didn't split. Maybe
Chanel would have gone home anyways.
But if Daniel plays his shot in the dark,
there would be that vote would not exist.
So so that vote on Chanel wouldn't exist. So she's assuming the 3, Mike, High, and Jenny, or Mike, High, and Lydia, they all vote for Daniel. Daniel does not vote because he plays his shot in the dark. Daniel's safe. There's 1 vote left. It lands on Mike. Okay, we figured it out. I think we've cracked the code. I think this is a good move.
And I think Derek technically said all that already, but I think I do think you spelled it out like scenario by scenario thoroughly.
My explanation was the executive summary, but Ryan just he gave the table data in matrix format.
Well, everyone knows I'm a table data guy.
Yeah.
So the executive summaries don't really work with me.
Ryan, have you ever gone a day without building like a set of matrices and cross-examining?
I don't know. I'd really have to stop and think if I've ever gone a day without.
You can build a matrix about it. With the calendar. Yeah.
So I think last season we all kind of landed on the shot in the dark just kind of being a throwaway twist, just because it didn't really play out, and even if it did, it didn't really do anything. After what has happened so far this season, I think I'm just completely in the camp of I like the shot in the dark twist just because it adds an extra wrinkle and it's causing people to think and act differently with their votes at tribal, thinking of all these different scenarios, and I like that.
Yeah, I think I'm totally fine with shot in the dark. We can keep it. If they get rid of it, I mean, I'm not gonna cry if they get rid of it, but if they keep it, I'm totally fine.
My thing was kind of different. I said, hey, look, we got to the end of 41. Shot in the dark played absolutely no role in this season. I think that proves that it's just excess fat and I want it trimmed. So I'm still in the camp that I don't like it and I want it trimmed. But that's just me.
So Daniel's out. So I guess the question now is, gentlemen, was this the right move? Josh, what do you think?
I'm still going to say no. I think that it should have been Chanel. Almost the same as whatever my reasoning last week was for her being the next person to go. I thought that she is I don't think either of them are trustworthy.
Sure.
But I think that Daniel is more likely to align with you because he feels like he needs to going forward. So I think you would have been able to have a group of 4 that just goes into the merge and has less of a risk of fracturing and just going in different directions. Who knows? Chanel might not do that. Maybe Daniel still would have. We don't really know. I just think if you're looking at just the probability of one versus the other, I think that Daniel was more likely to stick with you. So I would have kept him around instead of Chanel.
Based on the edit we saw, I'm inclined to agree with you, Josh. Ultimately, I'm going to land on this was like a fine move, and I'm going to trust the players on who they trusted more, just because it's like such a toss-up on this one. So, and they even said it came down to trust. So I'm going to trust that these players made the decision based on who they trusted more correctly. So, yes, good move.
This is interesting because Josh has a side. Ryan took the middle but picked a side.
Yes.
Trusting the people. I think this is actually definitely a good move. I think getting rid of Daniel was best for everyone remaining on the Vati tribe because all the other tribes know that Daniel is injured. They can use that information to, potentially keep Daniel around. Daniel, I also think, is better socially. And so if you distrust 2 people equally, you get rid of the person who's going to be better at building bonds outside of that alliance. And if my read is right and Chanel is a little bit more standoffish and a little bit more of like a, go solo player and not about that social game, well, that would, I'd kind of want to keep her around because she's less likely to make friends. So if you distrust two people equally, get rid of the one with maybe the better social game, unless you're really worried about, the other tribes teaming up. So I think getting rid of Daniel was absolutely the right move.
All right, well, let's get into best and worst player of the episode, huh? I'll start. I'll give us best player. My best player is Lydia. She gets into a Mystery Adventure Island. Nothing she could do about that, but she did a great job with just throwing Roxroy off the scent. She saved her vote. She prevented Roxroy from getting another vote, and then she was part of the group that knocked Daniel out of the game. So I'm gonna give my best to Lydia.
I don't like it. I give it to Roxroy. Because he handled coming back from that last vote so well. He showed self-awareness. He showed growth. I think ultimately he improved his position. And then he went to Mystery Adventure Island, played it just as KG as Lydia, prevented Lydia from getting an extra vote, and ultimately is going back to his tribe none the worse. And I also think that volunteering to go to Mystery Adventure Island, given what just happened to him with the blind side on the previous episode, was good. So even if I don't think that his position has changed much, I think that he did everything right this episode. So
I gave Rox for an honorable mention.
So I give it to Rox. I gave an honorable mention to Drea for being absolutely heavy with hardware and managing to play the Beware advantage about as perfectly as she could have.
Josh?
You guys are both wrong.
Okay.
Tell us why.
It's Mike.
Okay.
It is Mike, because I think you guys are completely forgetting about what happened at the last tribal for this tribe. There was I think they said 6 different blind sides is what High said. I don't know if that's the actual number, but there was a lot that ended up happening, and Mike ended up landing with High and Lydia, and it looks like they're the strong 3 going forward, and Chanel is the 4th in that group. He supplanted himself with them, along with activating his idol when he had the decision of whether or not he wanted to do that. I think he made the right decision in activating it, and is now in the majority going forward. You could look at Drea and say that, oh, she got her hardware, she got her idol. Well, congrats, Mike got that as well, along with this other stuff. You could look at Roxroy and Lydia, basically saying like, oh, Roxroy is, socially aware now. Congratulations. Lydia protected her vote, so nothing happened, and she voted correctly. Okay, well, so did Mike. And he also got an idol in the process. So I'm going with Mike here, and I feel strongly about it. I didn't even have the other 2 on my radar. I had Drea as my honorable mention.
I gave out 2 honorable mentions. I gave one to Roxford and one to Mike.
I honestly can't fight you with it if that's what you value the most. I like this.
Yeah, this is a solid trio of players. I think I can't fight either of you. I think you make excellent points. Yeah, it was pretty much a game of inches for me between those 3, to be honest. I think the thing the thing that pushed it over the edge for me was just Lydia's lie to Roxroy, saying like, "Oh yeah, I'm in deep trouble," and I was just like, I like that a lot. So I think that was all that put it over for the edge for me. But I think all 3 of them were great.
So, boys, what about worst player? I mean, I suppose I can start.
Yeah, Derek, why don't you give us your worst player?
This one was a lot harder for me than best, and it was mostly because I didn't feel like there was a ton of bad gameplay, or at least not awful gameplay this episode.
Something atrocious.
But I landed on Jonathan. Having the petty fights with Marianne, and bad on Marianne as well. But now she has a fully powered up idol in her pocket as a result of this episode. Jonathan does not. And if their tribe is now going into a half merge/merge, partially fractured as a result, he's going to have less of a shield from the likes of Marianne and, maybe even from Lindsay, who, by the way, still has the amulet advantage, which we haven't talked about yet.
Not at all.
And we'll get to that.
Completely forgot about that.
That game of inches comes down to Jonathan, because at least Marianne has an idol.
Josh?
I like Derek. I struggled with this a lot. And I kept toying between Marianne and Jonathan. And they both had negatives that I thought were very equal. And they both had positives that I thought were very equal. Marianne ended up converting her advantage, not really by anything she did, because it was the same thing that she has done for like 3 episodes. But she still got it either way. Jonathan carried his team into the immunity win. He single-handedly brought them back, so good on him for that. I think I'm gonna go with Jonathan. I really want to give it to Marianne, but I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt with just converting the idol, and that's just slightly enough for me. Kind of like what Derek said, there wasn't really anyone else in the episode that I felt played bad.
I am going to give it to Marianne. It is between those two. The fight was bad, and so it comes down to like the tiebreaker. I think Jonathan was going to go home tonight potentially because Marianne had her powered up idol. They could go after her, but she plays her idol, and she's annoyed with Jonathan right now. Boom, Jonathan's out of the game. So I think there's a very good possibility Jonathan was going home. He won that challenge single-handedly and saved himself. So just for that, I'll let Jonathan slide and give worst player of the episode to Marianne.
I'm not going to knock it.
Yeah.
All right. So merge thingy weird BS that we did in 41 is coming up next. Hopefully there's no time travel. But this is where we normally talk who's going next, and we go through each tribe. We're not going to do that. We're coming to the merge now. Just one person. Who is going next? Josh, start us off.
Yeah. Do I go with the easy one? Do I go with the one we've been joking about the entire season with Jonathan?
That's what Ryan and I were joking about right after the episode. I was like, next. Do I do it? Do I do it?
I will say it doesn't feel like it would be Jonathan. I don't know why. He's a very obvious boot. It doesn't feel like him. It feels like someone who might be targeted because they're untrustworthy. And I think you get someone like Chanel in there from Vati. I think you get someone, maybe they say like Tori from Ika, or maybe you just have, Jonathan from Taku. Those would kind of be my one from each. It almost feels like it would be someone like Chanel, but I'm going to go with her. I'm going to go with Chanel. I don't like it. I want to go with Jonathan, but no, I'm going to go with Chanel.
I called my shot on day one. Jonathan is going to make an excellent merge boot, and we're going to see it next week.
All right. I actually I landed on Roxroy.
Oh, wow.
I think Roxroy is going, and my reasoning, so we already found out that Drea is interested in an all-women's alliance of some kind. This is where I think that amulet is going to come into play. I think that she'll be able to use that to bond with Lindsay. I think that Hai will be able to bring Lydia in, and so everyone is going to rally around the Taku 4, which leaves a fair number of people on the outs. Tori could also flip from Ika rather than Drea and end up with the Taku 4 along with the remaining members of Vati. And that kind of leaves who is not going to fit in socially the best. And I feel like Roxroy and Chanel are both good, but I also think that Chanel would be the one to flip to join the Taku group. And why do I feel this is going to happen? I guess just editology. But Roxroy fits in the least, and I feel like there are more possible cohesive results with almost everybody else, and he'll be a really good, just not unanimous, but we'll settle for this at the merge boot.
Okay.
I would be shocked if Roxroy went home. I'll say that.
Well, and that brings us to the next thing. Who can't win the game? I'm sticking with Roxroy. He did have a great episode, but I still have him as bottom of the barrel.
Yep, I have Roxroy. No change.
I'm switching to Marianne. I don't care about her idol. I really don't. And you can tell multiple people are annoyed with her, and you're going to get to the merge, and it's just going to multiply by 10. I don't think Roxroy can win, but I actually think that he might have a chance against Marianne.
Final two, Roxroy, Marianne. Let's clock it in. Let's do it.
Yay.
Best final two ever.
Not the worst final two ever, though.
True.
Nope.
Thailand exists. All right. So now that we're done with the pre-merge, we're going into this weird gray area that Jeff says is not really a merge, but it kind of is. It's just whatever. We'll do it now. Best and worst player of the pre-merge. There's 12 people left in the game. We can only count these 12 people. Everyone who's already been voted out they're not eligible to win this. So we're going to do best and worst player of the pre-merge. Derek, who do you have for best player of the pre-merge?
Longtime listeners of the podcast know that I like to do someone who's a little bit more camouflaged. But I don't think that there is anybody who is more camouflaged than others on this particular cast that has a shot to win. I'm going with High. I think that his power move to basically somehow with 2 people beat a majority of 4 and is now driving his tribe, and he's not a physical threat, at least not outwardly. He's got a strong social game, and I think the people that he has left in his corner are people that he can rely on in the post-merge. So depending on how everything shakes out, he has the amulet advantage, which he can use to try and build bonds. Granted, we don't know if that's going to make targets or build bridges yet. I think early in the merge, it'll build bridges before ultimately becoming a target, maybe around that 7th or 8th place, or 9th or 10th place. I forget, because we'll be at 12, so a couple votes. So I'm gonna give it to High. I think he's played a very tight. What is tight?
Tight?
A very tightly woven pre-merge.
Josh?
I also had High. Call me biased because he's my winner pick, but I think that he had the best pre-merge. I think everyone else had. There were a lot of strong players actually in this pre-merge. I think High though had the fewest low points, if any. I really can't think of any. You can argue that maybe the amulet, but he just stumbled upon that. I think that the amulet going forward is going to really be the fork in the road on whether or not he is able to win this game. Because I either see it resulting in him being able to use it as, like Derek said, to build bridges, because they really only have a core group of 3 over there on Vati, so they could get eliminated really easily, or he could use the amulet to try to get a bigger alliance going and be able to go through the merge, through the post-merge. Or it could be an easy way to pick him off, be seen as a target, and just decimate Vati. He could be out in 3 episodes from now, and that makes me a little bit nervous. But I think because of how little downside I've seen from him, he's got to be my best.
I don't feel great about anybody left in the game. I don't think anybody's been too spectacular. My hesitation, High is my honorable mention. The only reason I hesitate giving it to High is because if it hadn't been for Chanel making like just a royally terrible move and losing her vote, Lydia would be out of the game, and
High would be too.
High would probably be out too. He got so lucky. Since then, he's been good, but he should be out of the game. I still almost gave it to him, but I'm going to end up giving it to Drea. I guess just because she's been controlling her tribe and she has connections with everybody, it's almost turned back on her a couple of times. And like, I'm not super high on her or anybody on this season in terms of like their gameplay, but it's almost like a default pick. I'm picking Drea just because she has this arsenal going in. She's gotten this stuff, and she has connections with Tori, with Romeo, and with Roxroy.
I can't fight the pick.
Yeah, I'm completely fine with you with picking Drea. I see it. I get the reasoning. I will say, I think High had the single best move of the pre-merge when he completely just manhandled Daniel in that discussion. So I give him a lot of props to that. I know it was very lucky that, and a lot of it was caused by Chanel, but good players are able to take situations like that and turn it into their own advantage. And that's exactly what he did.
So how about worst player of the pre-merge? Josh. And remember, the people who have been voted out do not count.
Yeah. I think there's only 2 choices here. I think it's either Marianne or Roxroy. And it's basically a decision between what appears to be a poor social game in Marianne and kind of a non-existent strategic game in Roxroy. and also not really a great social game in Roxroy either. He did have a little bit of redemption, though, in this most recent episode, that he's becoming a little bit self-aware. But Marianne does have an idol now. I think ultimately, I'm going to go with Marianne. Maybe I just have a vendetta for her, but I don't care. I'm going with her.
See, I'm going to go with Roxroy just because I think Marianne is a better strategic game than Roxroy. Actually, I'll say both. I think, Marianne's social games definitely has got holes, but I think her social and strategic game are both better than Roxroy. So Roxroy is my worst player of the pre-merge.
Wow, I got someone completely different.
Oh, boy.
Ooh.
And my reasoning, so Ryan, you have another podcast. Very quickly plug How to Survive a Horror Movie podcast.
Okay.
There's a player or a character in Children of the Corn 5 who jumps into a giant silo of fire for no reason.
Yep. Played by Eva Mendes. So basically, I'm going to go with the person who did the dumbest thing that you can possibly do that probably ends up turning this entire game on its head come post-merge. It's Chanel. Your winner pick.
My winner pick had the worst pre-merge because she didn't do basic math. Hai and Lydia would be gone, and they would be going into a merge as a very solid 4 right now. I am tracking this inflection point of the season to see how stupid is this Tyson, heroes versus villains level of stupid. And I mean, the stakes are much higher in a hero versus villain season, so probably not. But for these players in this season, this is your shot, and you don't do basic math.
It is the worst move of the pre-merge, for sure.
I refuse to forgive Chanel for doing that, not only to herself, but to everyone on that tribe. Good on Hai and Lydia for being able to capitalize, mostly Hai. But Jenny's game is over. Daniel is gone. You have no social connections going into a merge. So, you're a free agent, but, let's stop pretending like that's an advantage. Chanel tanked her own game, and it's because she didn't do basic arithmetic. So she's the worst of the pre-merge, and I will throw all of these reading between the lines with social cues for Roxroy and Marianne to the wayside because none of it matters if you can't do basic math.
That was great.
Derek, you convinced me, I think. Because I remember back to that episode, and we were talking about how bad of a move it is, and you are completely correct. I'm speculating between Marianne and Roxroy based on what I assume are just bad social games, or something that's non-existent with Roxroy. And I've seen a little bit of redemption, like I said, but we have seen a proven bad move from her, and bad moves are worse than non-moves. We want people to take risks. Because those risks will pay off, but unnecessary risks that tank your and other games are inexcusable in this circumstance. So I actually want to switch my vote. I am switching over to Chanel.
So officially, it's Chanel. I'm going to stick with Roxroy, but I get it.
This podcast democratically elected worst player of the pre-merge is Chanel.
Derek's winner pick, which brings us finally, the last thing we got to do is check in on our winner pick situation. We were going to do it anyway because this was the merge episode, but I lose my winner picks here. So I get to pick a new winner pick, and I'm going to end up going with Romeo. I think the Taku tribe is screwed. I think they're all going to fall by the wayside. Vati, oh man, they're a cluster. And they're all clusters. Ika's also a cluster because Tori, I think, is a wild card and will flip. And she has grudges with Roxroy. She's gone after Drea before. The only person she hasn't gone after is Romeo. The only person nobody's mad at is Romeo, I feel like. So based on that, I think Romeo is going to win this season. We've seen a good amount of him. He got some nice development tonight, and we've been seeing him since day one. He was willing to cut Zach back in the very first tribal council. So my new winner pick is Romeo. Lock it in.
I like it. If I had to switch at the same point that you are, I think that's assuming that Hai wasn't in the game. I think that's a very valid choice.
Which brings us to you two. Josh, you have Hai.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, you have Chanel. You two cannot switch your winner picks. You're stuck. But if you could switch your winner picks to someone else, who would you go with, Derek? Who do you got?
Oh, I'd stick with Chanel, 100%.
That's
Absolutely not.
the lie detector determined that was a lie.
So I already mentioned it earlier in the episode. Taku is the only tribe that I don't think has anyone liable to flip. I feel like Drea could flip with the amulet. Tori could flip just because she doesn't trust anybody in Ika and she wants to do something different. Chanel has every reason to flip on Vati. Taku, solid 4. We've seen it so many times in Survivor history. If you are the most solid group, oftentimes you can prevail. I think there's way too many fractures going on in the other two tribes, so I think Taku is the one to watch. I do not think flippers will win in this case. If I could switch, it would either be to Jonathan or to Omar, and I, by very nature of who I am, cannot switch to Jonathan. So if I could switch, I would switch to Omar.
Okay.
Interesting. And if I heard correctly in the episode, I think he pronounces it Omer.
Omer?
Is it Omer? Because I remember we assumed that it was Omar.
It's spelled Omar.
Yeah.
It could be Omer.
And then I feel like I heard someone say Omar.
Yeah.
But if it's Omer, then I'll just have to listen again. Jeff has not said his name very much.
Yeah.
He's been very quiet. Yeah.
Which again, pretty good pre-merge, except for not being able to undo a braid.
Yeah.
That was not great.
Everyone has flaws.
But it doesn't matter if your tribe wins anyway.
Yep.
Josh, do you stick with high or would you move on?
100%. Like I said, I think that it's going to come to essentially one scenario, and that's whatever happens with the amulet here. And I think that if I had to switch to anyone, I think Romeo is probably would be at the top of my list. Omer would probably be right up there too, maybe Drea. But I think it's all going to come down to what happens with that amulet. But I like what I've seen from him. He seems like an extremely capable player. He's gotten some good at it along with it too. And I've seen almost no flaws and weaknesses from him. So that's enough for me to just stand pat with him.
Okay. So we'll see how it goes. I think Romeo's going to destroy you all. Romeo, day one Romeo fan over here.
Yeah.
My prediction is if High or Romeo do not go out here in the next episode or the next 2 votes, one of them is going to win the game.
Okay.
But I think that one of them could very likely go out right away.
All right, let's wrap this up. We're going really long. It's the merge episode, so it's fine. You can follow us on Twitter at Castaway Pod. Give us 5-star reviews. Follow us on TikTok at Castaway Consultants. Instagram, all that fun stuff. Anything else, guys?
Do we want to do the poll?
Yes. One thing we do, we should have done earlier, is we see what Twitter thinks. Did the right person go home? See if they agree with us. What does Twitter think tonight?
Yeah, for the right person that went home, 85% of Twitter said that yes, the correct person went home. So not a lot of Daniel fans out there, it seems like.
So Twitter agrees with me, I think.
Yeah, because I said no.
And Twitter definitely agrees with me.
Okay.
Or I definitely agree with Twitter.
Twitter agrees with us.
Yes.
Everyone not named Josh.
Yes. All right, Derek, you wanted to read something.
Yeah, this was just a really fun message that I got over on Reddit. I was just interacting as a normal member of the community. I do peruse, so you guys might see me in there. I might post my memes, but I got a really great message that I wanted to read out, and it said that we were their first ever Survivor podcast and that we're still a favorite. They don't know who we are, and they don't even know how they found us.
It's fair.
But the podcast is structured so consistently, and they always look forward to hearing what we have to say. I'll, because it's Reddit, I'll leave everything anonymous. If you find it out there, you find it. But I understand Reddit's more about anonymity. So just know, again, comments like these are why we do it. We're just trying to build a fun little community here. So thank you for those kind words.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. That one is really, really nice.
Ryan particularly likes to hear that consistent piece. That is
consistent structure.
That's all Ryan's ever wanted from every podcast he's ever done.
With both of the podcasts that I started, one of the notes I wrote down when I was doing planning was consistent structure. That is something I plan for ahead of time, and I try and stick to it. I'm a big structure guy.
So
I think it works well. Yes, thank you very much.
We appreciate it a lot. Thank you. Means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. I have a lot of editing to do now.
A lot of editing, and then we got 2 hours next week, so It's gonna be a fun couple weeks for Ryan.
Have fun.
All right. Anything else, guys?
I don't think so.
All right. This has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got nothing else for you.
Good night.